How people of the past predicted the future, from spider divination to bibliomancy. How cultures worldwide have sought answers in the face of uncertainty. Some questions are hard to answer and always have been. Does my beloved love me back? Should my country go to war? Who stole my goats? Questions like these have been asked of diviners worldwide throughout history and still are today. From astrology and tarot to reading entrails, divination comes in various forms. Yet these queries all address the same human needs. They promise to tame uncertainty, help us make decisions, or satisfy our desire to understand. Anthropologists and historians study divination because it sheds light on the fears and anxieties of particular cultures, many of which are universal. Here are 5 examples of divination techniques that different cultures have developed to cope with life's uncertainties. In Cameroon, Mambila spider divination poses difficult questions to spiders or land crabs that live in holes in the ground. Asking the spiders a question involves covering their hole with a broken pot and placing a stick, a stone, and cards made from leaves around it. The diviner then asks a question in a yes or no format while tapping the enclosure to encourage the spider or crab to emerge. The stick and stone represent yes or no, while the leaf cards, especially incised with certain meanings, offer further clarification. The movements of the spider or crab rearrange these objects so that if a leaf card is moved to the stone or the stick, the answer emerges. The answer, however, is not always clear. Interpretive work is required if neither the stick nor the stone is selected, or both are chosen. The diviner and client must resolve the ambiguity, or decide that in this case, the spider wasn't saying anything at all. Reading people's palms, palmistry is well known as a fairground amusement, but serious forms of this divination technique exist in many cultures. The practice of reading the hands to gather insights into a person's character and future was used in many ancient cultures across Asia and Europe. In some traditions, the shape and depth of the lines on the palm are richest in meaning. In others, the size of the hands and fingers are also considered. In some Indian traditions, special marks and symbols appearing on the palm also provide insights. Palmistry experienced a huge resurgence in 19th century England and America, just as the science of fingerprints was being developed. If you could identify someone from their fingerprints, it seemed plausible to read their personality from their hands. One person who had their palm read at this time was the Irish poet and playwright Oscar Wilde. His reader, Edward Heron Allen, published a sketch of Wilde's hands explaining that his palms indicated extraordinary brain power and a great power of expression. If you want a quick answer to a difficult question, you could try bibliomancy. Historically, this DIY divining technique was performed with whatever important books were on hand. Throughout Europe, the works of Homer or Virgil were used. In Iran, it was often the Divan of Hafiz, a collection of Persian poetry. In Christian, Muslim, and Jewish traditions, holy texts have often been used, though not without controversy. There are a few ways to do it. In Southeast Asia, you might push a sharp object through the pages of the book to see where its tip reaches. Alternatively, you could open a page at random and see where your gaze falls. Although it might need some careful interpretation, the passage is thought to hold an answer to your dilemma. Astrology exists in almost every culture around the world. As far back as ancient Babylon, astrologers have interpreted the heavens to discover hidden truths and predict the future. To cast horoscopes, essentially maps of the planets and stars as seen from a particular place and time on Earth, astrologers need access to accurate astronomical observations. For this reason, pre-modern astrology was closely connected to astronomy. Astrologers might cast horoscopes for a person's birth, for the moment at which a client asks a query or even a date in the future to determine whether it was good timing for a particular event. The planets and zodiac signs each carry meanings, which are augmented by their relations to each other on a horoscope. Astrologers' readings of these charts have long helped people seek guidance, providing answers to pressing questions and aiding decision-making. In many historical cultures, astrologers also held prominent positions in royal courts and governments, making forecasts about the health and prosperity of their realm and the likelihood of impending disasters. Calendars have long been used to divine the future and establish the best times to perform certain activities. In many countries, almanacs still advise auspicious and inauspicious days for tasks ranging from getting a haircut to starting a new business deal. In Indonesia, Hindu almanacs called pawukan explain how different weeks are ruled by different local deities. The characteristics of the deities mean that some weeks are better than others for activities like marriage ceremonies. In pre-Spanish conquest Mesoamerica, which covered modern-day central Mexico to the northwestern border of Costa Rica, Your nature, fate, and even your name were determined by the day on which you were born. Calendar priests in Mexico could forecast the success of a marriage by using a sacred 260-day divination calendar. Interpreting the signs, the priest could tell whether a partnership would be happy, challenging, or doomed, as well as how many children would result.